Have you heard? It's truck news!
I said no.
The Truck Show. We're gonna show you what we know. We're gonna answer what the truck, 'cause truck rhymes with the Truck Show. We have the lifted, we have the lowered, and everything in between. We'll talk about trucks that run on diesel, electricity, and on gasoline. The Truck Show, the Truck Show, the Truck Show. Oh, oh.
It's the Truck Show with your host, Holman.
Welcome back to another edition of the Truck Show podcast. Have you heard? We're going to talk about the news, but first, gotta thank our sponsors. The Truck Show podcast is proudly brought to you in partnership with AMSOIL, the maker of the best synthetics and the same ones we use in our rigs. Did you know AMSOIL is more than just synthetic oil? They also make some of the finest lubricants, greases, additives, filters, car care products, and yes, even merch. We use AMSOIL products to protect our rigs, and you can do the same by heading to amsoil.com. Do you need a knife? Then head on over to kershaw.kaiusa.com and explore their line of exceptional pocket knives. They have a huge selection of quality knives, from EDCs to knives made in America and even automatic. Score one for yourself today. And if you want to treat yourself to the latest in adventure, gear, and upgrades for your vehicle, go to ovrmag.com and use the code @TruckShowPodcast for a discount on print or 1-year access to our digital library for free. The Truck Show podcast survives off of sponsorships and your reviews. Please help me to keep it free by supporting our sponsors and leaving reviews and comments on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Have you heard?
No!
So our first story has to do with Jeep beating Ford. And the Wrangler and Bronco were neck and neck for a lot of the year, and the Wrangler came out on top for 2026. But it was pretty close. Jeep sold 167,322 Wranglers in the United States. That's an 11% increase over 2024. And the fourth quarter alone accounted for 39,268 Wranglers. Obviously helped with strong end-of-the-year demand and also lots of incentives and refresh trims and things like that. So where did Ford end up compared to the Jeep 167,322? Well, Ford did pretty good, an impressive 146,007 Broncos in 2025. I believe that's their biggest year to date, and that marked a 33.7% year-over-year increase. That's pretty massive. And when we look at Q4 results, again, Jeep was at 39,268. Ford was right there with 36,086. So pretty amazing for those two vehicles to be duking it out, and they both have some great off-road capabilities. And I think this is a slightly different buyer. I think maybe you go into it and you go, oh, these are kind of directly competitors, but they're sort of a little bit different. Size is right. They just seem natural, but solid axle versus IFS, a little bit more go fast performance on road comfort versus better off-road and slow performance. And one of the things I love about it is if you were the exec at a car company and somebody told you, hey, I need you to make a 4x4, 4-door, 2-door, different body styles, and midsize, and the top comes off, it's convertible. You'd go, okay, yeah, I'll do that. Also, the doors come off and the windshield needs to fold down, at least in the case of the Jeep. And you'd be going, like, that's weird. Oh, and it needs to be on, 35-inch tires. Oh, and it needs to have a variety of drivetrains. I mean, it's the ultimate Homer vehicle, right? When you think about it. Yet these are two of the raddest vehicles on the market, and the sales show. So kudos to Jeep and Ford. And I always love seeing where there's a space with two successful rivals. I think it's good for both brands. And it'll be interesting to see what happens in 2026 with Jeep repricing the lineup, adding some more value. Ford, obviously, not losing a step. It's going to be a cool year. Speaking of Ford, there's a interesting note from TFL Truck a little while ago, and that was Ford confirming that two popular vehicles overseas were not coming to the U.S. One of them was the Ranger plug-in hybrid vehicle, which, we've talked about that on the show, and I get it. It's probably not the right vehicle for the U.S., but this is the saddest part. The best Ranger they make, not coming to the U.S., and that is the Ford Ranger Super Duty. And we had a whole thing on the show, and I told you guys why it's rad and all that kind of stuff. But it seems like Ford probably is more saying you can step up to F-150 for that kind of capability, or a real Super Duty for that kind of capability. Although I think a Ford Ranger Super Duty with that kind of capability would be pretty amazing. I talked to Ford a while back, and they said, it's going to be pricey, and it's going to ride too hard for most consumers. It's just going to be too much truck. And I'm sitting there thinking, that sounds awesome. So unfortunately, at this point, according to TFL, Ford, quote unquote, does not have any plans to sell those Rangers here at this time. But of course, things can always change. In the grand scheme of things, I would love to get some seat time in a Ford Ranger Super Duty. I think it's pretty rad, but looks like it's not going to happen here in the U.S. anytime soon. So Nissan made a bit of a splash when they said that they're open for OEM collaborations, and they're willing to share platforms, but the caveat is the manufacturer sharing their platform has to give up one in return. So it's a more of a reciprocal thing. And so when pressed on the question and said, name some platforms that you might be interested, Nissan's planning boss, Pons Pandikathira, said in an interview with Automotive News that Nissan's in conversations. There's multiple partners out there, and there could be some things announced this year. But one of the interesting tidbits was he has some really interesting plans for the next generation Frontier, and that they'd be interested in discussing that with an automaker. And of course, we know that that platform is going to underpin the new Xterra. But even if nothing else comes out of this conversation, we know that they are really laser focused on Frontier and making that truck even better. So that's kind of cool to hear. What Nissan would you like to see, or what vehicle would you like to see rebadged as a Nissan? truckshowpodcast@gmail.com. So here's one for you Arizonans out there. There's a bill that's out there that's called the Rapid Act. And Arizona Representative Nick Cupper wanted to remove the speed limits on rural roads during the daytime, and at night they would be limited to 80 miles per hour. And they're talking about long rural stretches of Arizona interstate, such as Interstate 8 south of Casa Grande. So this is the Rapid Act, reasonable and prudent interstate driving. And so there would be a pilot program on the I-8, and the legislation was filed back in December. And of course, locals are coming out on the news saying this is insane, this is crazy, or this is awesome. And Cupper told the local Fox affiliate, Fox 10, that he modeled it after the way Montana does theirs and also Germany. And there's a couple things in this act which are kind of interesting. There's a few rules. Could be designated de-restricted speed zone if it's outside an urbanized area with a population of 50,000 or more people. The highway has to have a crash rate below the statewide average based on data from the last 5 years. And then there has to be sufficient infrastructure for a stretch of road to have its speed limits removed. So I think that would be like, lane width, material, potholes, things like that. And this bill, HB 2059, would ask the state highway and transportation officials to set the standards for what is deemed acceptable. So what do you say? Are you all for it, or are you against it? De-restricted speeds in Arizona.
Yes, 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 yes. No.
Or just yes. All right, so this is kind of an interesting story. As you guys know, we don't talk about Honda too much on this show because they don't really have a vehicle quite in our wheelhouse. There's one vehicle that is okay, but maybe not what we all think of. But recently, Honda came out with a Passport Trail Sport, and we talked about on the show how it looks great, and that Honda went after basically the forerunner in terms of capability and got a unibody, no two-speed transfer case, but basically got it super capable, gave it the look, and essentially going after Toyota and Subaru and some of those and kind of climbing the ladder. Because if you think about it, Honda does really well in off-road in ATVs, UTVs, motorcycles. Why aren't they doing that in the truck space? Well, the whole Honda Passport Trail Sport thing came as an American project. And it's sort of like all right, we'll let you do it, but let's see how it does. Well, check this out. The sales are in, and the 2025 Passport Trail Sport outsold every other Passport 8-1. 80% of Passport sold were the Trail Sport model. I don't care who you are, but there isn't a product planning person out there who has a full lineup of vehicles, full trim, that is going to say 80% is going to go to this one enthusiast model. No way. So that's pretty amazing. So if we look at the actual number, Honda sold 55,231 Passports. That's pretty great. And I've had a couple friends call me and they said, "Hey, I'm looking for something a little bit more efficient than, say, a 4Runner and maybe a little bit more affordable, more value, but I still need a little bit of that capability to take the family off-road or go down, the dirt road in Joshua Tree or something like that. What do you think of the Honda Passport?" And I'm like, "Yeah, do it. It's great." And all the reviews are great. And the people buying them are great, and people are voting with their checkbooks. And the Passport went from a minivan with swinging doors to a credible vehicle in the off-road space. So kudos to Honda. I'm actually really curious to see where they go from here because they have the engineering and the know-how from other parts of the business. I grew up driving Hondas. We were a Honda family growing up, and I want to see Honda do well. They make some great vehicles. They still to this day they make some great vehicles. But to come in the off-road space, well, I'm here for it. And here's a win for the Ram crew. They were awarded by U.S. News & World Report as the best truck brand for 2026. And that's the 7th consecutive year that Ram has earned that top award. And they continue to love the mix of capability, ride comfort, interior quality, and all the tech packed in there. So congratulations to Ram for taking home that award.
Wow.
All right, and one last story to end this show, and unfortunately, it's a recall.
Check engine light just went on. Noise under the hood ticks like a bomb. Recall covers metal, glass, leather, and plastic. Door handle pulled off in my hand. Just fantastic.
All right, well, this one comes from none other than Ford, who has a recall of 273,000 vehicles over a rollaway risk. And this includes the 22 to 26 Ford F-150 Lightning, 24 to 26 Ford Mustang Mach-E, and the 25 to 26 Ford Maverick, and they all have the same rollaway risk. Apparently, there is an integrated park module that could fail to lock into the park position when the driver shifts into park. So because of that, these vehicles fail to comply with the FMVSS standard number 114, which is theft protection in rollaway prevention. And Ford's not aware of any reports or accidents or injuries related to this issue, but they're going ahead and doing the recall. So again, it's 272,645. The fix is actually pretty easy. It's a software over-the-air update, or you can go by your dealer and it'll be done free of charge. And doesn't sound like any hardware issues at all. If you're the owner of one of these vehicles and you are afraid that you might be affected, the recall number is 25C69. You can call Ford Customer Service 1-866-436-7332 or go to the NHTSA website, nhtsa.gov, for more information. All right, that's going to do it for this episode of the Truck Show Podcast. Have you heard? I'm off to the SHOT Show, so it'll be a couple days before I get another episode out to you, but it'll be a longer one, I promise you. And don't forget, you can follow us on social to see what's going on at Truck Show Podcast, at Sean P. Holman, or you can email us, truckshowpodcast@gmail.com. We might read your letter on the air. And, of course, you can always leave us a voicemail, 24/7, 657-205-6105, and we will play your voicemails on the air. Okay. Last bit of business, got to thank the sponsors. Please support the companies that support the show. And, of course, that's AMSOIL, AMSOIL.com. Kershaw Knives, that's Kershaw.kiusa.com. Or OVR Magazine, OVRmag.com. And don't forget to please leave us a review. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll do it again soon.
The Truck Show Podcast is a production of Truck Famous LLC. This podcast was created by Sean Holman and Jay Tillis, hosted by Sean Holman, and uses production elements by DJ Omar Khan and Jay Tillis. If you like what you've heard, please open your Apple Podcast or Spotify app and leave us a 5-star review. And if you're a fan, there's no better way to support the show than by sharing it and patronizing our sponsors. Some vehicles may have been harmed during the making of this podcast.